guys, welcome everybody to another episode of Prime Talks. With me today, I have Nathan Headlock and Lawry-White, both expats and also business owners in Portugal. Alex, starting by you. I was reading about you, of course. I saw that amongst other things that we cannot disclose with what we were speaking about previously to the podcast, you did real estate finance in London.
Yes.
How do you go from that to Portugal?
That is an excellent question. So the transition to Portugal was actually quite unplanned, and it was more a consequence of a personal life choices. So I just had lived in London for pushing 10 years, and before that I was in New York, and I'm from the countryside originally, so I was kind of done with mega city life, and I wanted to move initially to a smaller UK city, and then I came on holiday to Portugal almost 10 years ago now.
Really?
And I bumped into some friends in Lisbon and hung out with them for a week, and I just thought, why would I not move here? This is so great. So I moved here first, and there was a kind of a natural gap in my career there because I'd been running a sequence of businesses, and one of them had come to a natural close. So I moved to Portugal, took some time away from work, and then gradually built this Leviathan. So it wasn't a smooth transition from that to what's happening now. It was kind of just an organic sequence of life steps, really.
And like, you have been here for like 10 years now, pretty much?
Getting on 7 years now.
7 years now. So what were the main changes coming from London to Lisboa, right? I know there must have been a lot, but like, how different was it? And like, what were the main differences that you felt?
It's hugely different. I mean, what's interesting is how different Lisbon is now from how different it was when I arrived, right? So somebody moving from London to Lisbon now might have quite a different experience, but the first things that struck me, I remember, I mean, of course, the beautiful weather.
Yeah.
So I was...
Especially coming from London.
Yeah, coming from London. So initially I came kind of for 6 months. That's what I told everybody. And I think 2 days in, I called my mum. I was like, yeah, I'm not coming home.
I'm just changing.
So the weather obviously jumps out. The scale, that's the main thing. So London's a big city. You spend a lot of time each day traveling across the city. In Lisbon, everything's so... I mean, you get used to it, and I do hear people complaining about transport here, but the reality is it very rarely takes more than 20 minutes to get anywhere, and that's just an enormous improvement to your quality of life compared to losing an hour and a half in each direction, or in a commute, or even to go and see your friends, or to go to a restaurant, whatever. So the scale, the weather, and then there's a feeling there's a difference in the feeling in the air, which is that there's in any of those kind of global megacities, it feels like the air is denser somehow, and I don't mean that only in a bad way. There's a kind of intensity to the way people perform in whatever their field might be, expectations, and in some ways, of course, that can be good when you sort of the bleeding edge of excellence in whatever field, and you can find it around the corner, but also, there's something wonderful about the more laid-back lifestyle.
The pause that
yeah. So I very quickly fell in love with that, with all its, of course, pros and cons to each way of doing things. But you can breathe a little deeper in Lisbon. Let's put it that way.
Like coming from New York before London, so you must have been very tired of like intense cities, because I feel like New York is even more intense than London.
Yeah. I mean, when you're in your 20s and then your early 30s, and you've got, you're adding to the intensity, if anything, and then at some point you think, do I need this? I think I could just take it a little bit easier, and I think Lisbon's a great fit for that.
Makes sense.
In my experience.
Nathan, coming to you now. I know that you came from Cleveland, is that it?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, sorry.
But I grew up in Ohio.
Exactly. So what brought you here in the first place? Like, how does Nathan from Ohio, that is engineering in Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
Where does Portugal come up in your radar, pretty much?
Ohio to here is a much longer story, but specifically San Francisco to here, it's a very similar kind of story to Alex's and so many people that we talked to. It's when you're there in San Francisco, it's exciting. But after years pass, it's like you're on this treadmill, chasing the
Something that's
next step, and there comes a time in life where you're like, let's slow things down, observe what's more around you, and so my now wife and I decided to make the leap away from San Francisco, and we made a list of the top 10 places around the world, and pros and cons, and she's half French, half German,
Okay.
so we're closer to her family. I think I was looking for a version of California, so beaches, great weather, and very quickly, the only place left that fits all that criteria is Lisbon, and so we planned to move here, and I had never been to Portugal.
You have never been to Portugal
And
before moving here?
And so a few months before our flight, I flew here to do a reconnaissance trip and fell in love with the city, and when we finally arrived, just by pure coincidence, it was the day of lockdown.
Oh.
Right as COVID was starting, and so we were in this new Airbnb in this new city, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, what have we done? What is this world going to?" And it's been such an amazing experience. We fast forward, we now have 2 kids, a great community, and it's unimaginable to think of living in the U.S. or San Francisco. This place has all the things we're looking for, and it's really, it feels like home.
Yeah, and like for instance, you mentioned that you made a list. Were there, or like was Portugal as a country in your top 3, top 4 places on the list, or were there any other countries?
We looked all around the world, from Tokyo to Medellin to Barcelona, and every place has drawbacks to it.
Yeah.
And but Lisbon, it's not only the weather, the proximity in Europe, but it has a kindness to it. I didn't realize it as much at first, but now with kids, it's really apparent. When you go back to the U.S. and you have children, you're kind of a second-class citizen. People are like, "Why'd you bring them to the restaurant?" Or like, "They're making so much noise." But here, it's you're almost a celebrity. Old ladies stop you on the street and they want to play with your kids, and it's this community feeling that is unusual for a city of this scale, and it's really nice.
And did you came with the children? I know you came with the wife. Did you?
No,
came,
the children
were already born
they're
here,
Portuguese babies.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
So, moving towards a little bit, I know both of you guys did some sort of immigration program, right? Alex, starting by you. What would you say were like the main difficulties, if any, right, along the way?
My lawyers?
Yep.
Just joking. Had the best lawyers in the world. Difficulties, I mean, you have to pass a language test. That's you know,
it's interesting.
It's interesting. It's actually, to be honest, it was great to have a really meaningful goal that knew I had to get over, because my rate of learning has dropped from poor to terrible since that. But I've been meaning to book the next exam just to keep myself learning. But so other difficulties. I mean, honestly, it's not very difficult. You have to live in Portugal a certain number of years. Nathan and I were both lucky in that we got our applications for our citizenship in last year, right? So before the probable changes are coming in. So you got to do your time, and then you got to do your language test, and then you got to have a wonderful legal team who submits your application for you, ideally, and that's it. There's not that much friction.
Nathan.
Yeah, it's living here now. I'm at 6 years. You discover things that are better to do yourself, and then things that is definitely worth paying to have a knowledgeable expert. And when you haven't gone through this process and you don't know what to expect, and I have a massive fear of anything that touches bureaucracy here.
Yeah. You're in the right place.
Yeah.
Europe in general is a very bureaucratic country. Bureaucratic.
And so to be able to work with you guys and take a process that seemed like this big hairy mess in my brain, and I mean, we've figured it out. You figured it out very quickly, and it was a non-issue, very easy.
So, question now for both of you is, before we get to what you do for a living, how did you two meet? For instance, Alex coming from London, Nathan coming from Silicon Valley. Where did your path cross, pretty much? How did this come about?
Do you want to share the love story?
I can. I actually remember it very clearly. This was fresh out of the first lockdown, right? So I don't know what month that makes it, but kind of mid 20.
No, it's
2020. Mid 2020, maybe like May 2020, something like that.
Q2.
And I'd started working in this workspace, in a co-working space called Impact Hub, little plug, they're good guys. And at the time, because they had this bizarre space in the old transport museum, this massive old, incredible space with like old, what I would call Victorian train.
Cold place, there was no heating.
It was extremely cold and then extremely hot in the summer as well. But everybody had desks that were like 2 meters by 2 meters to themselves. So we were all sitting in this weird, huge space, really spaced out. And it was quiet in there. People didn't really talk to each other that much. And one time I came back from lunch or something, and I see a new face, this beaming, radiating positive energy. And I thought, oh, who's that guy? And I'm British. We don't really say hello to strangers, right? So uncharacteristically, I was like, oh, this guy's smiling at me like the sun's shining out of his face. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And he said, yeah, good. So then we got chatting, and we immediately had a bunch of similar interests. So we were just talking about this and that and whatever else was going on. And it all just happened incredibly organically, didn't it? We started talking about projects, then we started, and what I guess the magic was that we were both in a place in our lives and in our careers where we were kind of seeking the next project,
looking for the next
without too many conditions.
Yeah.
So I think what drew us together initially was the desire to work on climate change in some format, right? It's a huge, enormous problem with many faces that it can be approached through. Then we started talking about agriculture, and there was an early business plan in a way.
We had a big whiteboard, and
that was a key tool in the beginning of any business. A giant.
We could only talk to each other through a whiteboard these days. It's a handicap.
Do you still do it as of today?
Not as often
as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
But we often lament that we don't do whiteboarding enough. We should be doing it much more.
Okay, so you meet, and were you freelancing at that time when you were on that
I was teaching myself to code, which was kind of scratching an itch that I'd had my whole life. In another life, I would have been a programmer, but I just didn't do it this time around. So I did a programming course, and then I kind of quit the course and was just teaching myself, which is kind of a joke now with AI coding and all of this. But I think that was probably part of what drew Nathan in, was that I had like a big double monitors full of code, and he was like, let's go.
What language are you coding with?
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan, you met him. Were you also freelancing at that time, also at the same co-work, or?
Yeah, so I was helping different Bay Area companies launch their product, and that was kind of the business that was sustaining me in the early period here in Portugal. But I really had I grew up on a farm and really thought that this was this space, this vertical, had incredible potential in impacting climate change and the health of people, and so that was really the basis of a lot of the whiteboard sessions on how can we make impact, but not just impact at scale and with urgency. Because so many of the projects that you hear people talk about, they're big, they're grandiose, but then it takes 10 years to come to fruition.
Of course.
And by then, the whole world's changed. And so that was really the fundamental driving force in a lot of our decisions and how we talked about things.
Then you two meet, and then Pela Terra is born.
Well, a lot of time goes by. And
some pretty wild pivoting about the different ideas.
Yeah.
Some of which lasted months, some of which lasted half a day.
Yeah.
How much time did it took between you guys actually meeting at the co-working and then Pela Terra actually existing?
The management regulations being submitted? I think that
6 months, 9 months.
Yeah, maybe
depending
9
on
months.
where you sort of
Yeah,
say
yeah,
Palatera was born.
ballpark.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fast for Portugal, I would say. I mean, not so much for you guys, but in Portugal, it's a relatively.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think most of what we do is fast for Portugal.
Then, for anyone in the audience that doesn't know, you guys have a fund, right? Two, and
Soon to be 3.
soon to be 3.
Yeah.
That's what I was going
Yeah.
to tell you. Right. Of all the sectors, and I had this question here, which you already ended up answering a bit, is of all the sectors that you can possibly invest in, not only a different country but also a different continent, why did you guys choose agricultural? And 5 years in the sector, what has been your experience like? I don't know which of you wants to answer first.
I've got some thoughts on that. Just to kick it off.
Please.
Let me know if I'm rambling
Why
too
did we
much.
choose agriculture?
So
It's all about the soil.
yeah, it's so to go back to the impact. One of the key theses that we have is the soil really is a cornerstone for our food system. As we improve the soil and focus on the soil, it takes an industry that generally has a negative feedback loop and reverses that. As the soil gets stronger, so do the plants. You need less inputs, and at the same time, you're absorbing more carbon through this. And so that's the big lever for change and why we're looking at agriculture. But specifically, Portugal, around the time that we came here, was during the completion of one of the biggest public works projects,
Really?
which is Lake Alqueva, that took a rather desolate area in the central part of Portugal and has completely revitalized it. The largest man-made lake in Europe now exists there and irrigates 250,000 hectares or more, actually. And so this really put Portugal on the map as one of the premier agricultural areas to focus on. So I don't know if you want to build upon any of that.
I mean, what led us into agriculture in the first instance was the desire to demonstrate that we can grow food at scale whilst regenerating, let's say, nature. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, but as a huge generalization, regenerating biodiversity and soil health and these kinds of things. And that was kind of the initial drive of one of the things that we were looking for, along with the other things that Nathan mentioned earlier. To your question about what was the second part? What have we learned over 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
How was your experience been working so much with the agricultural and soil in general, and especially, like, I know Portuguese do a lot of work with land, but I don't think our system is, or at least was, has developed as it is now. But you guys have a much better perspective on it. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, there are some good agronomists around. It's I'd say everything happens incredibly slowly, which is painful. But I mean, we've learned so much. We've found our way over time, as one does when you move into a completely unknown space. We've slowly worked out who's good, who do we want to be partnered with, and like so many parts of life, once you're working shoulder to shoulder with good people, things start to flow well, right? Unfortunately for us, it took us a little while to find those people, so we went through some different iterations, but now we've got a real rock star team around us, which is just most of those people are a real pleasure to work with. So now things are humming along. You know, we have everything in place. The machine is built, and it's kind of, dare I say, I was going to say easy. I won't say easy. It's smooth now. You know, there's the production line is built. Every part of it that's important to us and our investors is being taken care of in a high quality way, which is really exciting, because then that again frees up the entrepreneurial brain to start thinking about
What's come next.
What comes next.
And a fun part of all this is also been the evolution of the different funds.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, the focus was mainly on land and soil and how to create value there. And as you move through these projects, you learn these valuable lessons that can be used in the next fund and the next iteration, and it's fun to build upon that.
Yeah, it is, and we feel ourselves vertically integrating more and more and broadening a bit as well. So, as Nathan said, we started with the land. By the end of the first fund, we started integrating operations in a significant way and saw that was a great fit for the timeline and the structure of fund that we needed to work with in this context. So the second fund really focused in on that operations, which in practice means planting, growing, operating these enormous orchards and seeing how many different types of plants we can get into one single space and all kinds of exciting iterations. And now we're broadening, expanding again into processing, so the actual production of the olive oil, for example, looking at other different types of crops that can be integrated there, looking at energy, obviously renewable energy, very pertinent at this specific moment in time, and of course will continue to be going forward. So it's a question of looking for opportunities that continue to be exciting and fit the mission, and that we're in the right place at the right time at this particular point.
I had another question here, which I think you already answered. I'm gonna
Okay.
ask it regardless. Is based on everything that you just said, I still feel like the plan is still for several years to still continue what you guys doing. Is it still the plan? Like,
Yeah, so agriculture is one of those businesses that take years and years to play out, and it's very frustrating in the early stages working with a business like that, because I come from San Francisco, he comes from London, and we're used to rapid change, especially in software. And what's exciting now is we're starting to see the work, the investment into these different assets play out, and real meaningful impact on the environment, the way we use inputs, et cetera. And so if we stop now, just as these things are playing out, I mean, it was like we're missing the best part of the play. So we definitely want to continue on this adventure.
But we're finding, in some ways, we're only just scratching the surface in terms of the ways that we can innovate in the space, because of the way that trees grow slowly. With each stage that we get to, there's still a kind of the front end of the project is still very much within sight. It's not like you go round and round and round really quickly as you would with software development. So we're still, right now we're doing a project, something called whole orchard recycling, right? If I can get a bit agriculture geeky for a second, which is where normally when farmers, at some point they'll say these trees are not performing well enough, take them all out, replant a new orchard, right? Roughly every 25 or 30 years, depending on the crop. And normally they just burn those trees, or they sell them to be turned into pellets, and they get burned as an energy source, which releases all the carbon. But what we're doing is shredding all of those trees, plowing them back into the soil, and getting those nutrients to feed the next generation of trees. No one's ever done that in Portugal at scale.
It seems like a no-brainer,
You'd
right?
think
Like,
so,
of
right?
course
so
you
interesting.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever heard
The idea
it.
is you recycle the entire orchard back into the soil. And this has been done in California. It's been done, I think, on a small scale in Spain, but we're doing it across 200 hectares. It's a completely groundbreaking project to be doing in Portugal. So then, of course, there's rigorous measurements going on all the way, because what we want to do is write all of this up, prove the thesis, and then encourage other growers to do the same thing, because it's a cost-saving exercise. It's great in terms of carbon capture and keeping nutrition, storing water in the soil, so you need to use less water, less chemicals, etc. So there's a kind of a painfully slowly but certain process unfolding where we get to innovate more and more and more, and hopefully really affect the industry at scale, which was the original plan.
I want to build upon this a little bit. Why this specific use case is so exciting for us is not only the impact to our farms, the financial and environmental impact. A big reason why these projects exist is we want to make impact at scale.
At scale.
And so
Far beyond what we could ever have
far
financed
beyond our
ourselves,
farms.
You want others to use what you guys are developing.
Exactly,
Yes.
because that's how you can magnify the impact of your work.
Yeah.
And so much of the research that we do, so much of the experiments that we perform, we share with what would be considered our competitors, because in our minds, it's not a zero-sum game. We all win as we improve these systems, and so it's a really important part of our mission, I think.
And how has it been in terms of sharing the process to your competitors and even implementing it? Is it easier, or are you finding a lot of obstacles along the way?
I think we're changing the culture, because so much of historic interactions have been this. We have a term for it: information arbitrage.
You mean like information brokers, basically?
Kind of like there's been a culture, at least in our space, where if you don't share the information, your secret sauce, you somehow have a unique advantage, and that's what you're optimizing for.
Yeah, like the knowledge is power, but in a kind of atomized, singular way. Right.
And we're really we're kind of
Turning
breaking the system, and we're saying, here's all our secret sauce, here's all our knowledge, use it. And at first there's a confusion, but more and more, tell me if you disagree, but I think more and more farmers are also sharing their knowledge with us, and it not only makes us all individually more resilient, it makes Portugal a stronger producer, at the same time as making positive environmental impact. So, yeah.
I don't know how much you guys would agree with what I'm about to say. So based on what we see on the news, Portugal, especially the agricultural sector, is still some years underdeveloped. Do you think that, or the new processes that you guys are implementing, contribute to the evolution of the system?
I mean, it should. If people share their learnings, it rapidly speeds up the group learnings, right? Because you've got 100 farmers learning lessons and sharing them, then everyone's learning 100 times faster. So, hopefully, I think that agriculture is a big umbrella. Yeah. Many crops, many climates. Even in Portugal, which looks small on the map, there's a huge difference between north and south, as you know. Exactly. So that's a kind of really an umbrella term. And there are some parts of agriculture which we see, which is kind of your jaw hits the floor, that people are still doing this. Like, it's amazing to think that it's so old-fashioned. But a lot of what we see, especially at scale, as you would imagine, is being financed by investment funds or family offices, or because you need scale, you need money to do things at a scale. So, of course, those guys are very interested in doing things in a pretty modern way. So I think a lot of what we see is not falling that far behind. Iberia, obviously including Spain, is the world's leader in olive oil production. Full stop. So they know what they're doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
No, it's easy to want to classify agriculture as one lump description, but it depends on the asset, and it's a space that's innovating so fast that countries that are historically slow or behind the technology have an opportunity to leapfrog. And so we're excited about that.
Blending in what we are discussing is, I wanted to ask you, how is it like to be an entrepreneur in Portugal? Like, coming from another continent, we have discussed the immigration part, but do you find the system very bureaucratic? Is it easy? How does someone coming from abroad and trying to be an entrepreneur in Portugal,
how diplomatic should we be in our response?
I think it's one thing that I'm kind of fascinated by is Portuguese entrepreneurs, right? Because I noticed that we have a very different experience being outsiders coming in versus homegrown entrepreneurs, and I think that each one has advantages because Portugal, you need to know the right people, right? Yes. In every single sector that you touch, you need to know the right people.
Things get sped up with.
A lot, yeah. And of course, if you're a homegrown entrepreneur, you have that big advantage, or a lot of them at least.
It's easier.
But then if you're an outsider, you kind of accidentally smash through walls. Sometimes, I'm sure, putting noses out of joint because you didn't know that there was a wall there. You didn't know you weren't supposed to do that. And you sometimes see people around you and you just think like, what? Why would I not just go this way? So definitely pros and cons. Look, all ecosystems have their drawbacks.
He's so diplomatic.
Yeah, he's trying to be so diplomatic.
Yeah.
All ecosystems have their drawbacks. We're I'm not averse to getting on the phone and shouting at a banker to hurry up. It hasn't even been 48 hours since the last time I did that. So sometimes you gotta inject a bit of nitrous, otherwise things can be a bit sleepy. But we find a way to get things done.
This happens in every country. I grew up in the U.S. and especially in San Francisco, you see all these immigrants building incredible things, and I think proportionally immigrants create way more value than, at least in the U.S., than natives. And you're like, how do you do that? And in moving here, this is the first time I have lived outside the United States.
Okay.
And so you kind of get a sense of how this happens. It's someone coming in with a unique perspective that sees problems that aren't as visible to locals, and just blind ignorance punch through walls and
also sometimes with a kind of a sense that you need to justify your presence. I don't know I think we've spoken about this sometimes in the early days, but there's a kind of you feel like a guest in a way. There's a kind of a gratitude, like thanks for allowing me to live in your country. And I think inherent in our project was a big focus on making sure that we were, that no one could say that what we were doing was kind of extractive or even neutral. It was important to build something that justified our presence here, that really fed back into lifting things up here in Portugal. That was the objective. Yeah.
Another question that I also wanted to ask both of you, blending in to also Pela Terra, is you have by now worked with hundreds of investors, okay, and you have spoken, or you have had so many conversations with them, right?
Yep.
On what regards to Portugal, what have been their main challenges, or what are even their main thoughts for even considering Portugal as a country to relocate to? What do you hear a lot about them?
Do I start?
I can. I think we mostly speak to foreigners in the context of golden visa investing, right? Mm-hmm. And golden visa investors are not necessarily relocating.
Yeah, exactly.
So some of them, for sure, are doing it because they're excited about Portugal. Some of them are. There's the whole scale, right? So people all enter the scale. So I think we probably don't spend as much time speaking to them about relocation as you guys do. Yeah. I don't know. What do you? Maybe you've got some more substance.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But we do. It's a lot of the folks that we talk to are coming from the U.S.
The U.S. Exactly.
And especially in a time that is, I'll be diplomatic, volatile.
In the U.S.
In the U.S., you get these stories that are really wide-ranging. The folks we talk to come from the Northeast to deep Texas to the Bay Area
all
to LA, all across the U.S. And so you hear, you kind of get a slice of where people's minds are. And really the driving forces are the future is unpredictable. And I want to increase optionality. Simply put, let's create a plan B for not only myself but my family.
The children.
And Portugal and the Golden Visa program in its current form is one of the easiest ways for folks to get a European passport, which is still thought to be very
the
secure.
Gold standard in insurance policy. Yeah.
So that's the big sell.
That's interesting. And do you feel like they also ended up relating with you a bit because you are both expats living in Portugal? Do you feel, or is that irrelevant?
No, I don't think it's irrelevant. It's hard to say, right? But I think we often have a very short window of time to build a meaningful bond with an individual. And of course, if you can speak to them on a culturally familiar level, you get a big advantage in doing that. So I think for sure it's relevant that we're from English-speaking countries, and most of our investors are from English-speaking countries, etc.
And when they're first looking into the program and starting the process, it's scary. It's there's so many unknowns. A lot of folks have never been to Portugal. Exactly. I mean, a lot of Americans have difficulty finding Portugal on the map. And so to talk with someone who is American or British and understand that, no, people have gone before me, this is a real thing, this is safe, this is a process to follow, is very reassuring.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Another question that I also wanted to ask both of you, you came from different countries, right? So different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
What have been like your most cultural shock moments when
About each
living in
other?
Yeah, I was
or
going to say, Nathan's
Portugal?
spelling is pretty shocking still.
I wanted to ask about Portugal first.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But
he told me about this island nation somewhere that all these people live. But yeah.
Culture shocks. It's funny because now it's been a while, right? So I have to remember.
Nowadays it's already your culture almost.
I have some good
You
ones.
go, you
yeah.
go.
So the U.S. is more consumer driven, and so a big culture shock for me is in San Francisco you have same day Amazon delivery, and so it sounds great.
Such a first world problem.
You have same day stuff.
You have
full
same
stop.
day stuff.
You can't get anything
And so
same day.
you
here.
can essentially order anything that you can possibly need in the morning, and then in the evening it's there on your front steps. Convenient, but incredibly wasteful, the amount of things that you collect.
Yeah.
That was a big challenge in moving to Portugal, used to that behavior, and then you need this thing and you're like, well,
2 days after.
I don't know if it's ever going to arrive. I don't know the store. I don't speak the language.
Yeah.
I guess I don't need it. And you don't end up buying
Yeah,
it.
you don't end up buying, right?
And at the end of the day, you didn't really need it. And life, for me at least, has improved as my consumerism has.
That's such an
has dropped.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, anything from you?
The driving. That's a shock that
For
never
the
goes
better or
away.
for the worse?
Really? You're really asking?
Yeah.
There's this. It's not great here. It's not great here. There's some erratic.
I just wanted to double check what I was already thinking.
Most people drive very well. There's a small handful of
Yeah.
people who drive very erratically, and I drive a motorbike, so I'm like, ugh,
Don't kill me.
You have to have your wits about you. What else? The food. That's unique here. I now love.
I never ate fish really ever before moving here. And it's one of my favorite dishes I order
Yeah.
all the time.
Really?
Portuguese eat more fish per capita than any other nation in the world.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. What else? I mean, Nathan mentioned it earlier, but a really lovely thing is the personal interactions are very gentle. It's funny actually when you go outside of Lisbon. Other Portuguese people say like, "Oh, isn't everyone so rude in Lisbon?" I think like, you should go to London.
You should see where I come from.
It's all relative.
Yeah, it's all relative. So you still, I mean, I remember going back to Nathan's point about kids earlier. I remember I remember weirdly, I remember going to Lidl, right? Not even a very Portuguese
Lidl of all places.
of all places, but it was my first day. So you're walking
Okay.
around like,
German
oh
supermarket.
my god, everything's new. So I went in Lidl and I remember seeing strangers, what evidently was clearly strangers talking to each other, thinking like, that's weird.
That's insane. What are they doing?
Yeah, and then I remember going to the till queue. The queue was so long, and I remember thinking like, what is going on here? And what was going on was that the cashier, every time there was a problem with like a melon with a wooden scan or whatever, she would get up and walk into Lidl and fix the problem herself, and then come back while there were 1,000 people waiting
on the
in the
queue
queue
already.
I remember thinking like, what? That took me a long, long time to get used to that kind of thing. Yeah, culture shocks everywhere, little and often, you know. But yeah, but it's a great life here. We love it. We love it. We love living here.
Another question to blend in what you were joking about a couple of minutes ago is, you have been business partners for like 6 years now, close to 6 years.
Yeah.
Do you see these wrinkles that are?
It's not from the children; it's from Alex.
yeah,
That's right.
So I wanted to ask, how is it like to have a partnership for 6 years already? And if anything, how has your relationship changed along the years of working together?
Man, this is a deep one. Let's we should.
I want to take
Where's
the
the wine?
opportunity to publicly, on record, thank Nathan for dealing with my more difficult personal characteristics. No, it's great. We realized after a while that we have just the kind of Goldilocks perfect amount of diversity in the way that we think, but a lot of overlap as well. So when we chew over problems or plan things together, there's always a tension in the perspectives that we bring, but somehow in the way our brains are wired, we speak the same unconscious language, so we can communicate incredibly fast and go through ideas incredibly fast, and obviously that only increases with time. But yeah, I think in any long partnership, you need a lot of understanding, a lot of a capacity to compromise and forgive and celebrate each other. And Nathan's wonderful at all of those things. So thanks, Nathan.
Yeah.
You have never gotten so many compliments.
Yeah, man. I have to publicly do, you know. I think if you, we both have launched several businesses on our own, and when you do that, you know you need a partner to go the distance, and so you probably think through the attributes of this partner, but I don't think I would ever get that list right. And end up with someone that is too similar or just unable to communicate, and just by dumb luck, we happen upon each other, meeting each other in this warehouse co-working space, and it's worked incredibly well. This has been such a voyage of discovery. We liken it.
Coaster.
This is a country we don't know. We don't know all the rules. We don't know what we don't know, and so the metaphor we often use is we decided to jump out of a plane together and then figure out how to build a parachute before we die. And man, that leads to some stressful days. But it's allowed us to build something that it was unimaginable if you would have asked me 4 years ago. You'd say, yeah, you're going to do this and this and this. No way. I would think that you were joking. And it's complementary skills, it's respect, and we have a vocabulary and a language that allows us to very concisely communicate complicated things at high bandwidth. And, all these things together is.
Okay.
There's a story just to finish that off of when we were in the early times, and we were going for it, 11 out of 10, just nose to the grindstone. I mean, not that that's really changed, but in those days there was this atmosphere of just uncertainty around everything, because we were unestablished in every way. So it was just pure, kind of, you're investing your time and energy, but you're kind of just throwing it down a well because you have no idea what's going to catch, if it's going to catch, if all of this is just one day you're going to be like, this didn't work out. At some point we had a kind of a come to Jesus conversation over a table in Estrella Park. We were like, right, how much is enough? How much, what is sufficient? What are we actually trying to do here to give some shared parameters to make sure that our unstated targets were aligned? And in that conversation, I think was it 10 million?
And so we've almost exceeded that scenario by 10x. Or like, okay, if we raise 10 million, we've made it. We've done it. We've achieved our goals.
And we could have made a nice agriculture fund with 10 million. That really was a sufficient amount of capital. So at this point we're
approaching 100 million.
And it's not stopping anytime soon, right?
And not stopping anytime soon. So it's
we're gluttons for punishment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, and you now have a team, I know, right?
Yeah.
How is it like? I mean, I know that your business grew so much.
To have a team.
Yeah, that's just the two of you. It's not enough.
The best move any entrepreneur can make is hiring people smarter than yourself. Yeah. And we're so fortunate. The team, the amount of work and cool ideas and innovations they make, the way they're all leveraging AI now, it's they're really impressive individuals. Yeah. And then collectively, how well they work together. they can move mountains, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, we're in the very, very luxurious position of having a team where every individual person is a rock star. Like, there's no one, any one of them tried to leave. So upset. They're all amazing. So
Having
we're
worked
blessed.
with them all, I have to agree with you. They are amazing.
Yeah,
From the experience
Yeah.
on the outside, of course, it's
Yeah.
not the same experience as you guys have, but everyone at Belterra has been amazing so far.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's very kind.
Coming to an end now, one of the questions that I had here is, would you see yourself retiring in Portugal, or do you ever see yourself going back to the next
What do you mean
next part?
retiring?
When you turn 80 or 90?
Okay.
Are we all living forever?
Yeah, it's dying.
I'm not giving up at 90. Come on.
Man, that's so far over the hill.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
hard
that's a
hard
fair
to
answer.
know.
But like how I'm often a lot of times in interactions with folks living here, you're asked the question like, is this home,
Yeah.
or
Is it a stop
do
along the
you
way?
have like one foot out the door? I am unable to imagine, honestly, a better place that I want to live and raise my family. Like I don't think it's that difficult for us to move really
Exactly.
anywhere, and I don't know of a better fit.
One of the last questions that I had here is actually about it. Is I know that you have a family, all here in Portugal, right? How is it or how was the process of actually having children here, and they are being raised in a Portuguese way to some extent? How was that process like, and are they completely inside the culture of Portugal, so to speak, or how?
Yeah, it. So, as an American, it's extremely expensive to have a child.
Yeah.
You actually have to save up a lot of money for just the birth. I think it's 20 or 30,000 euros. I think that's or like 20,000 even with insurance. It's super expensive. And so our first child we had here, we left the hospital. I'm waiting for the bill. No bill came.
To this day.
and it's like, what? And it's I mean, so that's a shock. Just in everyone knows America's healthcare has challenges. On the cultural side, I grew up in Ohio. Didn't meet many other people outside of farm town Ohio. I grew up on the farm in the middle of nowhere. You meet some city people occasionally. Never ran into a British person.
Yeah.
It's
You didn't
taken
know they
me years to
existed.
understand anything he says. But now I find that I'm married to a woman who's half French, half German, and so my kids are speaking 4 different languages.
Really?
French, German,
Portuguese and English?
Portuguese and Ohio dialect of English, and it's just I'm living this life that my young self wouldn't recognize, and it's kind of it's neat from that perspective.
That's interesting. So, final question is, if you were to start all over again in Portugal, would you do anything different? Or how many things did you want to do differently?
These are loaded questions.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult question because it's all counterfactual, right? Like,
Yeah.
what would have happened in life if
And
things
if
had
you did anything
gone
differently.
differently?
We know the happy path now. It's less of a. We know where there's a term. There were a lot of unknown unknowns before, and now at least we kind of know what the box looks
what
like.
the landscape
sort of.
looks like.
Yeah.
So it's easy to look back on specific things which, if you're being hard on yourself, you can look back and be like, well, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So sure, we would have cut out those detours. But I think fundamentally, it's been a wild ride and a great ride. And it's difficult to look back on it and think, I wish I'd done something different to that. It's been pretty cool so far. Long may it continue.
Perfect. Guys, I want to thank you so much, for allowing us to have you here
Yeah, thanks
and
for
accepting
doing
our
this.
invitation.
We need to do it more
Yeah, I
often.
appreciate it.
Wanted to ask if anyone in the audience wants to find you, where can they find you?
on our website,
Okay.
Pelatera.com.
Right.
That's the easiest.
For the English speakers, PELATERRA.com.
You can speed that up a bit when you get that back in the yeah, that's the easiest way to reach us. Or here at the Prime Legal offices where we hang out as much as we possibly can.
Right.
But guys, thank you so much, okay?
Great pleasure. Thanks very much for having us.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. And stay
appreciate it.
tuned for the next episode.